How come you didn't do the second joke? What would tell him their second joke?
So Chase, you've heard of herd mentality, right?
Yes.
Apparently it's effective on 10 out of 10 people.
I was hoping you were going to do that one. See, there wasn't a pause. Hey everybody, welcome to Service Drive Revoluuuuuutioooonnn. We have an exciting guest today. Please say hello to Christian Lafferty.
Hello, everyone.
The one with the jokes.
Sometimes.
The one with the jokes. Think if they can hear this?
Hello.
Hey, can I get the Jeep brought down for 101, the Gladiator that I'm giving away at the Top Dog event this year?
Oh, wow. All right, we'll go ahead and bring it.
Thank you. We're giving away a Jeep, everybody. We're bringing it down. It's for you, the winner.
That's the best valet call I've ever heard in my life. He's like, oh,
Christian,
wow.
You have been gone forever. People
so
now
long.
are starting to call you Mia. Poor Mia.
Sometimes
We're abusing Mia.
Sometimes the questions are like,
Where have you been? Every Dakota, every Virginia, to Florida 12
Michigan,
times?
Florida.
How many miles do you have with Delta or whoever?
Oh,
who's your preference?
Delta's definitely my preference right now. I've got
You got
healthy,
a million? Are you one of those ones that gets to board before everybody else now? They're like,
so I've got one more to
miles?
get to diamond on Delta, but I'm platinum right now. So I'm moving on up to the east side.
man, bro, we missed you here. You're never here.
It's so nice to get back to the couch.
You're back for a couple months?
At least, maybe longer if we can work it out.
Christian, just so everybody knows, in case you're interested, which you're probably not, but he did an inappropriate comedy routine at our company shift meeting or weekly meeting, we would call it, and was not HR appropriate. Everybody pointed that out, but funny.
Yeah, and I really want to not underscore how much work I put into that inappropriate joke.
Like you practiced it. I know that because you practiced it on me.
That's true. I did do that.
He called me out of the blue and he's like, hey, can I tell you this joke? I had the same reaction then as I had when you told it.
But yeah, we definitely some miles for sure. We got to do some classroom advisor training, which is one of my favorite things to do out in the Midwest, which was awesome with Coach Grant. Mia was there too, so my stand-in on the couch actually was out in the field too. So that was
running Mia wild.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But it's good to see everybody out, and I really, really do believe that as we're coming up to this Top Dog event, people are starting to get already at their best, and that Top Dog event's just going to blow it through the water.
And today we have the guest that I'm the most excited about that's going to speak at Top Dog.
Yeah, he's fascinating.
Incredible. He has meant a lot to me. And so why don't we just go to that interview because I'm so excited. And let's just go to this Chase Hughes and Christian and I's conversation with him. Chase, meet Christian.
Hi, Chase. Huge
hey,
fan.
Christian.
So, yeah, I think everybody here at the office is a huge fan, mostly because I don't know if Amazon gives you a report, Chase, but I was looking and I've bought over 70 copies of the Ellipsis manual and given them away. There's stacks of them. I don't think anybody leaves my house that doesn't get it. So Chase is an author. He has some incredible books. He's also on YouTube on the Behavior Panel, which is something everybody would love. You should go subscribe. The best part of this is that Chase is going to be one of the speakers at Top Dog this year, which of all the speakers, he is the speaker that I'm the most excited to introduce to everybody. Just because his approach is so different and so rich in real world, content, I guess. How would you explain?
Yeah, I think it's this perfect blend of like social science, behavioral science, and then research to back it up. Like it's really, really deep is what I would say to everything that
from somebody who really cares too, like really genuinely, cares about making people better and comes from a place of understanding. So Chase, could you just kind of tell everybody, how did you get into, and maybe it started at a very early age, but what made you want to understand human behavior and influence? Like, when was the first time you were like, hey, this is something that really gets me going? Like,
yeah, when I was a kid, and I mean like 18, I was active duty at the age of 18. And I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, and we would go out to these bars in Waikiki Beach. And I talked to a young lady one night and basically asked her out. And she said, no, thanks. And I went home that night and literally typed into Google, how to tell when girls like you. And there's a ton of articles and stuff out there. I printed off like this 3-foot stack of paper, burned through like a whole ream or two of paper. And I started studying body language, and I realized that I had some degree of social anxiety. And the more I got into body language, the more I was able to see behind the curtain of people. And that I realized like everybody is insecure. Everybody is suffering. Because I thought there was a problem with me. Like maybe I'm not reading body language correctly. But it cured the social anxiety to know that everybody you meet wears a mask to a degree or has some kind of persona, and it became addictive. And I think it made me into what I might describe as like a psychological voyeur, to where I wanted to see the things that I'm not supposed to. I wanted to see the things that are behind the curtain, so to speak, or swept under the rug. And it became really addictive. And my best friend was killed in a terrorist attack on the USS Cole. His name's Craig Weberly. And I read report after report. There's intelligence operative failures, intelligence training failures that are all responsible for this. And then I wound up in a few years going to those intelligence schools and going to the recruiting schools. And the training was like, look people in the eye, firm handshake, use their name every once in a while, pat somebody on the shoulder. It was like 1970s techniques. And I thought like this, I need to share what I've been learning with the intelligence community, and wound up with kind of an unlimited budget to do so, and talk to a lot of experts, and thanks to your tax dollars. And
you're welcome.
That's pretty good.
How did you know I just paid taxes? Sorry.
But that was it. I mean, and I wound up creating all of these brand new techniques and tactics and systems to read people deeper and faster, and to change people's behavior more dramatically and faster. Because time, especially in the intelligence world, time is a major factor. If I have 3 years with a person one-on-one, I can do whatever I want, but I might have 3 minutes to make some kind of drastic behavior change for a person.
So at one point, because one of the things that I learned from you that I've never made that connection, but now makes sense, is when you were looking into body language and reading people, at what point did you start to understand that the body language books didn't work, that only works in the context of the reaction to something? And so a lot of that stuff that we've read in sales or, in leadership training and that sort of thing, most of that stuff in context of, if somebody has their arms crossed or whatever it is, really is of no value unless you understand the context of what is happening and what it is in reaction to. And then even then, it's like you want to add up a couple of those in a sense. Just one thing might not tell you. When did you discover that there was a difference from the textbooks to actual application with people?
I think it was, I lived in a town in Hawaii called Mililani. It's the coldest town in the state of Hawaii. And it's kind of in this valley. And this young lady was visiting, and she was standing outside waiting for me to open the gate to this hot tub area. And her arms were crossed, and she was really rigid. And I remember my first thought being, oh, she's being withholding or closed off. And I asked her, like, why are you crossing your arms? And she said, I'm freezing my off. And I thought that wasn't in the body language book. They don't tell you that. And there's so much that where the second part of this is like, if I'm at a seminar and I'm up on the stage and somebody's got their arms crossed, I could ask them, why are your arms crossed? And resounding answer from everybody in the entire crowd is because it's comfortable. Everyone says the exact same response, but it feels comfortable. Our body language feels comfortable because it matches an internal emotion. So I asked the same person, like if you were at a Foo Fighters concert, crossing your arms would probably feel uncomfortable because it's a completely different environment and a different context and an emotional state. So I wanted to get to a point where we weren't just teaching, here's what each little body language thing means, because we're looking for groups of behavior. And the number one mistake that I see people make is to assume there's this still image of arms being crossed, not arms crossing. That's a big difference. That we're in the business as a behavior profiler in change detection. So I'm looking for changes, not these still images of a person touching their face or crossing their arms or covering their groin. We're watching for changes in that person and when those things occurred. So if I'm in sales, the moment that I start talking about the terms of agreement or how long this is going to take to pay something off, I see someone lean back in their chair and pull one of their hands kind of over their groin just a little bit. Or maybe their lips get tight and they go, oh, okay, that sounds fine. And they look like that. It sounds fine on the surface if you're watching it on a video, but if you understand behavior in that exact context, you know that that isn't a sales objection that just happened with their body. They didn't verbalize it. And that's when the biggest mistake people make in sales, maybe the second biggest, is waiting until the end. I'm going to wait till the end of this sale when I make the close to figure out whether or not I've got everything figured out.
You know, one of the things that our industry struggles with, and you know, truthfully, one of the reasons that I found you was the way that things are in business nowadays is hiring choices or decisions are so important. It would be too much for us to go over on the show right now, but that's a huge thing in our industry that everybody's trying to get better at. And I'm telling you guys that Chase has the roadmap for that. And he presents it in a way that you're just like, wow, like I don't understand, I just don't understand how this exists and I don't know it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's almost, it's such a heightened sense of awareness of everything. And the thing I would say, Chase, is in compliments to you, is that the thing that I've noticed about Chris over the last 10 months is like everything has so much more intention to it, right? Like every time he's asking a question, he's looking for something. It's not necessarily the answer to the question, like the strategy that goes into it. Like that's what I'm really, really interested with what you do. And like to your point, like batting 1,000 when you're interviewing to put people on your team and doing the right thing, like that's a time saver, it's a money saver, it's a heartache saver. Like this is all stuff that's really, really good. I've also heard the phrase iHome more in the last 6 months than I have in my entire life, but that's good too. But Chase, I really, I respect your opinion psychologically, and I'm scared of living in tall buildings. My psychologist says it's an apartment complex.
Oh, very good.
I like that it was a 2-second delay. That's what I was watching for.
Did that achieve the setup? It's pretty long.
It was a long. Well, I think the first part was
the
genuine.
iHome was a pretty funny segue. It's pretty good. So Chase, side note, Christian and I are going to start going and doing open mics there's a comedy club right by my house. And I'm convinced that he can be a stand-up comic eventually with enough, practice. That probably wasn't a good example.
Happen. It's work,
Chase
though.
is positive. He's giving you a little encouragement.
That's great.
Also, Chase, what do you think about it, Top Dog? Also, just teaching everybody how to shoot badass guns.
We could definitely do that. I know more about gunfighting than anything else. And we could definitely do that.
That would get him more excited.
Yeah.
He always jokes like, hey, if anybody wants to learn how to shoot, that would be way more fun. Like, you can turn me into John Wick?
Yeah, we could do that.
Do you think that I could do that? Like, you've seen like how slow I move and how uncoordinated I am? Like,
I could do it.
really?
I'm just going to ramp up the consequences. We'll get a dog shock collar from Amazon, $65.
You don't even need to order it. I got one.
That's how you train special forces, is a shock collar?
Consequences is how we get trained. Yeah,
All the secrets are coming out now.
but not a shock collar.
What is the worst thing that happened to you in training in the military? What's the worst thing they did to you?
I had a 3x5 note card with the word idiot on it, staple gunned into my head, and had to keep it there for a day.
Wow.
What? What is the context of that?
We were doing this training, and like if you sweep your muzzle across a person, they call it flagging a person. They stapled a note card that said idiot on my head, and I had to keep it on for a day, or for the rest of that day.
And so does that reprogram you to not, do that?
It reprograms not just me, but everyone else who sees it to be hyper aware that they don't suffer the same consequence.
Wow. And how did you feel when that was happening? Like you're like, I deserve this?
No, I was like, I signed up for this when I was 17.
You had no idea what you're getting into.
It doesn't cross your mind that that's not a normal event that happens in life. Like,
You'd have to redefine normal in that community.
Yeah.
You're going through that kind of training. But I think one of the biggest things along the lines of what you were talking about, and when we're talking about consequences of behavior, is that one of the biggest things that I've talked to you about multiple times when we were hanging out is that no matter how many techniques or tactics you have, you could be the guy with like every sales script known to man, fully committed to memory, ready to spit out, ready to rock, number one in the world. Bill Clinton would still whip your ass at persuasion. And that's the one thing when I talk to salespeople and talk to them about this, especially sales managers, they say, well, you can't train charisma. And that's exactly what I do with sales teams. And that's kind of, we bring that in there to get that charisma brought up to a completely different level where they can still use the same sales techniques that they've already used, but everything else is operating at a completely different level to where the sale is just a byproduct of character and charisma.
And I think in my personal experience through your training is what creates more attention to the charisma, I guess, in a sense, is the fact that you go in understanding that you're creating an outcome, and you have, like Christian was saying, I have more intention in the things that I'm doing. To me, one of the outcomes of having more intention is that charisma is a tool you have to have in your toolbox. Whether you think you're charismatic or not, it's a tool that you have to have. And so you just do, because you're trying to create an outcome where before you would kind of leave it to chance and see how it went. Even like in a job interview, you would kind of like, you would have your questions and you'd be trying to feel somebody out, but it was a 50-50 exchange, where now it's not a 50-50 exchange. I'm driving and coming to a conclusion.
For sure. And there's a known desired outcome, and there's a role for that person to be playing in a role. So like if I owned a car dealership and I've got a 22-year-old kid who's kind of the runner, like runs to the storage lot, brings the new car up for a customer, stuff like that. And I want you to just imagine that 22-year-old kid walking into like a Versace store or like a Hermes bag store, where like the cheapest bag in the store is like 15 grand. He's going to be very uncomfortable. He's going to look around. He's going to be looking at people. Their faces are going to look suspicious to him, even though they're not suspicious at all. He's going to feel very off base. But if I gave him my corporate platinum card and said, hey, we've got a VIP visitor coming in. I want you to go down and get a really nice briefcase as a gift. And he walks into the exact same store, but he has a role and he has an outcome in mind. He has permission to be there, and his posture is different. His face is different. The way he communicates is wildly different, just because we've given one person a role. And that is makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It's amazing. Okay, so I sent you a text because I know, don't you have a degree from Harvard in neurology?
I have multiple certifications in neurology and neuroscience from Harvard, yes.
Okay, so I sent you this Mercedes-Benz has a car that can read your mind, and then the subtitle is, hey car, oh, you've already done it. And so Mercedes so there's this in the article, and maybe we can put these images up at least in the video that'll be on YouTube, is there's actually a headband that they're putting on that has sensors kind of all over it. How is it possible that Mercedes can read somebody's mind and anticipate that they want to go from country music to heavy metal, or that they want the temperature to, they want the AC turned up or whatever it is? How is it possible that they can tell that by the electricity, or how is it signaling them that?
Well, there's two parts of the brain you'd have to look at. And this little headset thing is called a BCI, or a brain control interface. And I noticed I think the thing you texted me, it had a lady in the seat, and there were some bigger sensors way here in the back. So this is where all of our visual stuff is processed. It's called the visual cortex, or the occipital cortex. When we're looking at things in a certain way, our brain will go back there to a very specific area, and that thing will probably have to learn it. So you'll probably have to strap that thing on, and it says, oh, welcome, Chris. Let's go through your introduction. Look at the cold knob. Look at the warmer knob. So it'll kind of walk you through that, because everybody's brain's going to be a little bit different. So it'll probably have this thing where you're walking through it, kind of like setting up Face ID. The second part of that is they're going to have you imagine probably a control center in your mind. And they're going to say, I want you to think about reaching out and turning it to warmer, reaching out and turning it to cooler. Now that's going to read your prefrontal cortex. And this is where we do planning and anticipation. So if I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, it's really hot, I wish the AC of my seat was on. The thing mapped out what that looks like in an electrical signature and says, oh, he wants his butt to be 5 degrees cooler. And that's what it is. So there's guaranteed there's some kind of a walkthrough where it's going to map out your individual differences.
And then it'll have kind of a baseline, and then it can tell, in kind of like body language in a sense, that the change then triggers that you're anticipating something else?
Yes.
Is it similar?
Yeah, so it's monitoring a baseline. But that would change for people that are on drugs. Like there's a drug people get for migraines called topiramate, which wildly changes electrical conductivity inside the brain. And maybe an excess of caffeine is going to make someone start doing that. And like you're just sitting there not desiring anything, and like Hall Oates magically starts playing.
And the heat goes to 99. Wait, what negative experiences have you had with Hall Oates that's your analogy?
Why them, right?
None.
None? I love it. I thought you'd find that article interesting. I thought of you when it came up in my news feed. I was like, oh, Chase will know what this is about.
Yeah, and I was what we said privately off camera was like, I hope that's not controlling the vehicle itself, because people magically discover that they have epilepsy every single day. From a lack of sleep, stress, dehydration, alcohol, hormone changes, those can trigger epilepsy, and that would be real bad news.
Yeah, that would be scary, really scary. Well, thank you so much Chase for coming on. We appreciate it. We can't wait until Top Dog. Also, we should tell everybody that Chase and I have also worked on sales training together that we have outlined, and we've done all the hard work. Now all we have to do is video it. but you guys already get a sense how this is a cheat code, and it also is a way to serve your customers in a meaningful way that creates relationships that are meaningful too. Because when you're really understanding your clients, when you're really serving them, you can create a bond that isn't just transactional and just about the commodity. And I think that's another benefit to your trading, Chase, is that your relationships get deeper and more meaningful because you actually are meeting people where they're at and you're not impressing what you want on them so much.
I really think this goes into every human interaction that you'll have. And it's not just, I don't want to just train. If I have a sales team, and I don't want my sales team to have sales training for me. I want them to have social skills for their entire life, so that all of those things become a habit and not just something they turn on when they walk in the office, reluctantly saying, I've got to go through these motions again. So I want to give them training that's good enough to where they say, I want this to get involved with everything. I want every part of my life to be affected by this, because we all talk to humans all day. Even if we're parents, we're in the business of influence. If we're teachers or salespeople or a psychotherapist, we're all in the same business, which is human outcomes. And everything changes. We change a few things like that.
I know Missy says that I'm a better boyfriend since going through your training. Am I a better boss?
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah, you're creating better citizens in it, in a way. It's not just about this part of it. It goes much deeper. So much love, Chase. Thank you so much. Can't wait till Top Dog and experiencing that with you. And we'll talk real soon. Thank you.
Me too. Really excited. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Bye, Chase.
Take care.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Drive Revoluuuuuutioooonnn. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.